It's December, and you're standing in a crowded mall. That time of year again. The soft Christmas music playing overhead, the strategically placed Santa's grotto, even the cinnamon-scented air pumped through the ventilation system. None of it is accidental. You're being manipulated, and what's frightening is that it's working. Every year, Americans alone spend over $1 trillion during the holiday season. Each purchase designed with one purpose: to tap into your deepest emotions and exploit them for profit. The truth about Christmas isn't pretty. It's a world where your cherished childhood memories, family traditions, and spiritual beliefs are weaponized against you, where marketing executives work alongside psychologists to create campaigns that don't just sell products, they reshape your entire perception of what the holiday should be. And if you think you're immune, you're exactly who they want. But here's what most people don't realize. This manipulation isn't new. It's the result of a carefully orchestrated campaign that's been running for over a century. A campaign that transformed a religious holiday into the biggest commercial event in human history. And it all started with blood, fear, and ancient pagan rituals. Let's dive deep into something that might shock you. That peaceful nativity scene you see everywhere? It's sitting on top of centuries of pagan traditions that would make your skin crawl. December 25th wasn't chosen because it was Jesus' birthday. It was chosen because it coincided with some of the darkest and most violent celebrations in human history. Take Saturnalia, the Roman festival that gave us many of our Christmas traditions. For 7 days, Roman society would completely break down. Slaves became masters, went unpunished, and license was completely unlimited. The streets would run with wine, and human sacrifices weren't uncommon. This wasn't some minor cultural footnote. This was one of the biggest celebrations in the ancient world. But it gets darker. In Norse traditions, the Yule celebration involved the Wild Hunt, where the god Odin would lead a ghostly procession through the sky, snatching up any unfortunate souls caught outdoors. People would literally hide in their homes, terrified of being taken. These weren't just stories, they were deeply held beliefs that shaped entire societies. And let's talk about Krampus. Before Coca-Cola's Jolly Santa, Alpine communities had this horrifying demon who would punish naughty children. We're not talking about coal and stockings. We're talking about being beaten with birch branches and dragged to hell. Parents would actually dress up as Krampus and terrorize their children. Think about that. Using psychological torture as a parenting tool was once a cherished Christmas tradition. But here's where it gets interesting. The early Christian church didn't just randomly decide to place Christmas on December 25th. This was a calculated political move. Church leaders knew they couldn't just ban these pagan festivals. They were too deeply ingrained in culture, so they did something brilliant and terrifying. They absorbed them. This wasn't just cultural appropriation, it was psychological warfare on a massive scale. The church took these ancient symbols and rituals and gave them new Christian meanings. The Yule log, now it represents the light of Christ. The evergreen trees, they became symbols of eternal life through Jesus. Even the date itself was chosen to coincide with the birth of various pagan gods. But here's what they don't teach you in Sunday school. This merger created a holiday with a split personality. On one side, you had solemn religious observance. On the other, you had these ancient pagan impulses that never really went away. This tension would eventually create the perfect conditions for what came next. Now we're entering the real darkness. The 19th and 20th centuries saw something unprecedented, the complete corporate hijacking of a religious and cultural tradition. And it started with one of the most successful marketing campaigns in history. Let's talk about Santa Claus. Before 1931, Santa's appearance varied widely across cultures. Sometimes he wore green, sometimes blue, sometimes he was thin, sometimes tall. But then, Coca-Cola stepped in. They hired artist Haddon Sundblom to create a Santa that would help them sell more drinks in winter. The red-suited, white-bearded, jolly figure we know today? That's not St. Nicholas. That's a soft drink mascot. Think about the implications of this for a second. A corporation literally rewrote cultural memory on a global scale. They didn't just create an advertisement, they created a new mythology. And it worked so well that most people today think this version of Santa is the traditional one. But Coca-Cola was just the beginning. Department stores realized they could use Christmas to solve their biggest problem: winter sales slumps. They started creating elaborate window displays, Santa's grottos, and magic shopping experiences. They weren't just selling products anymore, they were selling Christmas itself. This is where it gets scientific. Modern Christmas marketing operates on multiple psychological levels simultaneously. Companies don't just advertise anymore, they create elaborate emotional architectures designed to bypass your rational thinking completely. Let's break down a typical Christmas commercial. Notice how they rarely show the actual product? Instead, you get soft lighting, emotional music, and heartwarming stories about family reunions. This isn't accidental. Studies show that nostalgia makes people more willing to spend money and less sensitive to price. When you're feeling nostalgic, the rational part of your brain, the part that asks, "Do I really need this?" becomes less active, but it goes deeper. Retailers have turned Christmas into a 4-month psychological warfare campaign. They start playing Christmas music in October for a reason. Studies show that prolonged exposure to Christmas music and decorations breaks down your mental resistance to spending. It's like water torture for your wallet. Take Black Friday. This isn't just a sale, it's engineered mass hysteria. Retailers create artificial scarcity, time-limited deals, and social pressure to trigger what psychologists call panic buying. When you see people fighting over TVs, that's not just greed, that's carefully manipulated human psychology in action. Fear and guilt. These are perhaps the most powerful weapons in the Christmas marketing arsenal. Companies don't just sell products, they sell fear. Fear of disappointing your children, fear of being judged by your family, fear of not meeting the standards of a proper Christmas. Watch any toy commercial in December. They're not selling toys, they're selling parental adequacy. The message is clear. If you don't buy this toy, you're failing as a parent. This exploitation of parental love is so effective that 71% of parents admit to going into debt to buy Christmas presents. But it's not just parents. Singles are targeted with ads suggesting their loneliness could be cured by shopping. Elderly people are bombarded with messages about family connections that can be bought. Let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable. The psychology of gift giving has been completely corrupted. Studies show that up to 60% of Christmas gifts are unwanted or unused, yet we keep buying more every year. Why? Because gift giving has been transformed from a voluntary expression of love into a social obligation. Marketing firms have mastered what psychologists call reciprocity guilt. Here's how it works. They create advertisements showing perfect families exchanging perfect gifts, setting an unrealistic standard that makes you feel inadequate if you don't participate. Then they bombard you with messages linking, spreading with love. Show them you care. Give them what they deserve. Make their Christmas special. The subtext is clear. If you don't buy expensive gifts, you don't love your family enough. The numbers are staggering. The average American takes on $1,000 in debt during the holiday season. By January, suicide hotlines report a 40% increase in calls, largely due to financial stress and post-holiday depression. But here's what's really dark. This isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature. The entire Christmas economy is built on making you spend money you don't have on things people don't need. But the darkness doesn't stop at your wallet. The environmental impact of our modern Christmas celebration is apocalyptic. Let's break down the numbers. 15 million trees cut down annually in America alone. 2.65 billion Christmas cards sent, enough paper to fill a football field 10 stories high. 6 million tons of extra waste produced during the holiday season. Wrapping paper could be used to circle the globe 9 times. The carbon footprint of Christmas shopping and delivery equals driving around Earth 54.5 million times. But here's what they don't tell you. This environmental destruction isn't just a byproduct of celebration, it's built into the business model. Fast fashion Christmas sweaters, cheap decorations, disposable wrapping paper, these aren't accidents. They're designed to be thrown away so you'll buy new ones next year. The production chain is even darker. Those cheap decorations and toys, they're mostly produced in factories with horrific labor conditions. Children in developing countries work 16-hour days to make Santa dolls. Toxic chemicals being dumped into rivers to produce artificial Christmas trees. The true cost of our Christmas celebration is paid by people and ecosystems we'll never see. Christmas has become a mirror reflecting society's deepest inequalities. While some families spend thousands on gifts and decorations, Others can't afford basic necessities. The holiday season sees the highest rates of depression and anxiety, particularly among those who can't meet the manufactured expectations of perfect celebration. Marketing campaigns have created a two-tier Christmas. One for those who can afford the proper celebration, and another for those who can't. This isn't just about presents, it's about social inclusion itself. Children from low-income families often face bullying and social isolation because they didn't get the right gifts or couldn't participate in expensive holiday activities. The psychological impact on children is particularly devastating. They're being programmed to equate love with consumption before they can even understand what either means. Perhaps the most insidious aspect of modern Christmas is how it manipulates tradition itself. Companies have convinced us that traditions that are barely a century old are timeless. They've created a narrative where consumption isn't just a part of Christmas, it is Christmas. Take Elf on the Shelf, introduced in 2005. This isn't an ancient tradition, it's a product that turned surveillance into entertainment. Parents now feel pressured to participate, creating elaborate scenarios each night, all while teaching their children they're under constant surveillance. It's the perfect metaphor for consumer culture itself. Or consider Christmas movies. What seems like innocent entertainment is actually carefully crafted propaganda for consumption. Every Christmas movie reinforces the same messages. Buying things equals love. Material abundance equals happiness. And any problem can be solved through sufficient spending. So, what can you do about this? First, understand that awareness is your greatest defense. When you feel that urge to buy something because it's Christmas, pause. That pause is crucial because here's what's happening in your brain. Marketing triggers a dopamine response, the same neurotransmitter involved in addiction. I created what I call the 3-layer defense system. Layer 1, the emotional check. Why am I really buying this? Am I responding to genuine desire or a manufactured guilt? Would I buy this if there was no social pressure? Layer 2, the financial reality. Can I actually afford this? Will this purchase still seem worthwhile in January? Am I trading long-term security for short-term satisfaction? Layer 3, the value assessment. Will this create lasting memories or temporary pleasure? Does this align with my true values? Am I supporting ethical production and environmental sustainability? Set a Christmas-free day each week during the season. No shopping, no Christmas music, no holiday activities. This breaks the psychological manipulation cycle. Create a gift-free zone with friends and family. Agree to exchange experiences or homemade items instead of purchased gifts. Implement the one in, one out rule. For every new Christmas item you bring in, something must go out. This creates natural resistance to overconsumption. Practice tradition auditing. Examine each of your Christmas traditions and ask if it truly brings value or just creates stress and expense. Remember, understanding these manipulation tactics doesn't mean you can't enjoy Christmas. It means you can choose how to celebrate it. You can decide what traditions truly matter to you, what spending actually brings value to your life, and what parts of the holiday season genuinely reflect your values. The dark truth about Christmas isn't that it's become commercialized. It's that we've allowed corporations to redefine what celebration means. They've convinced us that joy can be purchased, that love can be measured in dollars, and that tradition can be manufactured. But here's the thing, you have the power to break free from this manipulation. You can create a Christmas that reflects your values, not corporate interests. You can build traditions that strengthen connections rather than bank accounts. You can choose to celebrate in ways that don't compromise your financial security or the planet's future. The choice, as always, remains yours. But now, at least, you know what you're choosing between. If you found this video interesting, then check out my video on the dark side of Hollywood next.